Soil brothers and soil sisters. Let's see if I have a chat today. I do. Well, hello everybody. Today is Wednesday. I don't know what date, but it is canon time. So, as you know, I do not stick in the chat much, but I do grab questions out of the chat. So, if you have questions, drop them in the chat, all caps. I don't think we have Lavender for luck today, which is all good. I told her to rest. But y'all make sure y'all leave y'all questions in all caps. We are streaming. Tony disappeared. However, we are streaming to Racing Fire today and Mennonite Farmhouse. So I got most of my crew here. I think Tony had to drop out. He'll be back. And we are streaming to Kettle Kitchen. So you all make sure you hit that thumbs up for us all. We appreciate you for tuning in. And this is going to be a beautiful learning session again. How are y'all doing today?
We are doing fantastic.
I'm
Good.
doing wonderful.
Staying cool, right? Staying cool.
No gardening for this time of day.
Yeah. Make sure you're getting your fluids in and staying cool. You know, take those breaks because you deserve them. Yes, you definitely have to stay hydrated because it's dangerous out there. So, what's up, Tony? Kettle Kitchen.
Hi, how are you guys?
All right, how you doing?
Technical stuff. You gotta love it, you know?
Struggle streaming at its best. It's all right.
Yeah.
We all do it. So we're gonna jump right into this canon conversations. The last 2 weeks we have been pretty much canon 101, all the basics and where do we start as canons. So I guess after you get all the basics of where do I start, you know, what do I purchase and things I can and all the safety and how to can. Getting in these books, what are some important tips you would give newbie canners?
Read the book first.
Read the book first.
Mm-hmm. Before you buy any equipment.
Okay. Because you definitely want to know, as far as reading a book, will it give you any help with what type of candy you should buy according to the stove?
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was directed at somebody or not. Sorry.
No, Tony, you can go. Go ahead. You want to answer?
Well, most of your books, from my knowledge, and I know if you read through very carefully the USDA book, I know that there's a few of the ball books. They'll walk you through step by step the things you need, the items you need, that kind of stuff. So you're not going into it blind, I think, is the easiest way to look at it. It'll give you what you need, how many of what you need, or at least what they're assuming you will need based on the recipe. So I think those are good references to use when you're getting ready to can for supplies and things like that.
Okay. And if you don't have a book or you can't get a book, where's somewhere else you can find help other than Mennonite, Kettle Kitchen, and Grace and Fire?
That's funny.
This is exactly how I started. I mean, besides buying the book, I went to the Ball Canning website. They also have a YouTube channel that you can get recipes from Ball. And then you can also get that from the USDA Home Preservation as well and get those recipes. Or go to your local library and see what books the local library has as well.
And the National Center for Food and Home Preservation, you can download the Bible free of charge. You can print it out yourself if you don't have the money to buy it.
And same with the extension offices.
Mm-hmm. And you said these books are good for what, about 10 years They usually you should update your books every 10 years or so.
The other thing I'd like to throw in with that too is you really got to look at your publishing dates, because there's a lot of the books that are out there, and I even found this the other day. One of the books that I thought was actually, sorry, I got a loud truck going by again. One of the books that I found that I would have used on a regular basis, I think I want to say this year would have been 10 years old. Well, when I went and just happened to look at the store I go to for my canning supplies, it's a revised edition. So it's good now for another 10 years.
This one is the one I love because you can see it's well used. It's 8 years old.
That actually, I think, is the book that they got a revised version of that out now.
This one says 2014. So
yeah,
I'm good.
Good.
So we just had a question. Somebody was asking, can we can onions?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
But if you watch my video, you don't want to. They break down too quickly for me to justify canning them. I'd rather dehydrate them, or I know Glenda would probably freeze dry them, or just freeze them. They just, I mean, I've pickled them in red wine vinegar, the red onions and garlic. That's very good, but it just breaks down too quickly. And you can pressure can them for, I think, 30 minutes. Don't hold me to that, but they're going to be mush, and
right.
You don't want to take all that work and find it to be something you don't want. But that's my opinion. You can try it.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
I have a question about canning stock. Is there a difference in canning stock if you have chicken stock versus vegetable stock?
Vegetable stock needs to be canned at a longer time than chicken and beef. Beef and chicken is 25 minutes, but vegetable broth needs to be canned for 90 minutes, if I can remember off the top of my head.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's really no difference. So it's okay if I can chicken stock, because what we did was we made stock with the we processed our chickens out. We put a lot of vegetables in it, but we did add like the chicken feet and necks and thought about canning it.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
You know, that having that homemade stock tastes so much better than the store bought stock. So
have you looked at the prices for homemade or for store-bought stock lately? For organic, it's like $6 for a quart.
And the important part of that is exactly what this whole thing is based on. You take scraps from your chicken, you take some carrots and onions, you boil it off, you make your own broth, and I will guarantee you at a fraction of the cost, even with your jars and lids included, you will get more out of it, a better flavor for very minimal price that you can have on your shelf whenever you need it.
And here's a tip with the stock specifically. You know, many of us have gardens and we're pulling out vegetables. Take a look at your books, have an idea of your recipes. Start freezing those ends, like ends of your onions or peels of your onions or ends of your carrots or whatever, and just start freezing it, because your scraps can make that stock. You just need that recipe so you have an idea of a direction of which way you're going. But start freezing it so you're not having to go out to buy something to make that stock, or dedicate a certain section of your garden to make that stock, for example. Or chicken, the same thing. Save your bones. Put that in the freezer until you have enough to cook that down to make your stock. That's how you make that cheaper. Yep. You've already got this, so why not use it in a really good way?
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing that needs to be realized, I mean, it really goes with what she's saying, but I think for most people that don't can or make their own broth, let's look at it that way. Most of us are just throwing that stuff away, or you're throwing it to even if you are using as composting, you're still throwing it away, because the flavor and the product you can make out of it prior to doing that is so beneficial and cost effective for you that you really got to train yourself to wait. I'm not going to throw those away or give it to the chickens. I'm going to go freeze it because I know I'm going to make my own stock. So I talked about it on my live last night, just real quick. It's about a mindset. You almost got to get yourself into that mindset of retraining yourself what you do with different things.
And just doing it.
Mhm.
Like when I first started, I was scared to death that I had the wrong proportions of lemons to onions to celery to carrots. Just throw it in there. And the longer you cook it, the better it's going to taste. And also add vinegar. It'll break down your bones if you're doing chicken or beef. And then, yeah. Then your seasonings. I wouldn't go too heavy on the seasonings. Just make sure you got your trifecta of, carrots and celery and onions, and you can't go wrong.
Okay. So somebody asked a question about dark amber jars a couple days ago. She was asking, can you can using dark amber jars? I guess so the light don't come in and compromise your food.
Yeah, Ball actually makes them. I don't have one of the darker ones here, but I shared this on another live. They've got a pink one out this year, so these can be canned in as long as they're made like recent. You don't want to be using. Let's see here. I don't have the jar out. Shoot.
What's
like
this
one of the
color?
yeah, the antique ones that you don't want to use your antique jars, but the ones that they've just released out, I actually have brown amber ones that I can in. No problem.
As long as they say on the packaging meant for canning,
Right.
That's the important part. Yeah.
like if they're for crafts. But the amber ones, I think they're a little bit more expensive than just the regular glass ones.
Yeah.
But you can them.
Yeah. Let's see. This is the pink ones that they're out. They come like that.
Oh,
So pretty.
they come forward to a pack. Is there a reason why I don't see people can green leafy vegetables?
Because they haven't been to my channel yet. Actually, I'm still debating if I want to do that video. I can't Swiss chard for my husband and maybe me sometimes. It's just, I'm still trying to work through how to not have so much siphoning in the quart size jar. The first time and only time I did it in pint size jars, I had no problem. The quart size, I get a lot of siphoning. So I might just go back to pint size jars and say, husband, we're not going to have more than a pint size at one meal because it's pointless to go through all that work and have all that siphoning. Because if you get less than a jar full of water in your jar, you're going to have to use it quickly. And for all that work, I am not doing that. But greens, you can spinach and Swiss chard and kale and beet greens.
Yep.
I don't know what else is greens. Probably I don't know if you can collard greens. I don't grow them, so I don't know. But I can look it up.
So, Urban Gardening asks, is there a benefit to using dark jars?
Yes, it has to do with letting the light in on your food. You're supposed to be storing your jars in a dark, cool place. The thought behind it is to keep the sunlight out of your jars is why those are darker. Really, it's better just to store your jars in a dark place, but it's to have that option if you can't. But it's better to store it that way so you have long lasting.
Yeah.
And Dale said she had to siphon her jars to quart-sized collards. So canning collards is a thing. I've seen a couple people say.
Greens are awesome. Beet greens, Swiss chard, kale, mustard greens. What is poke? I don't know what poke is. Then spinach and turnip greens. You can all in that category. You can.
Right.
I don't know what poke greens are. Is that something
Oh, sorry. My only reason why I don't can the greens is because my family doesn't like it. And it goes to that point of why do it if nobody's going to eat it? It's wasted space, wasted product, wasted time. So that's the only reason why you won't see me do it.
And I freeze mine or I freeze dry mine. In fact, I just harvested off all of my spinach and I freeze dried it. So I just like it a little bit differently.
Okay. So I know, Bob, I had this question written down too. So Bobby asked, are lids supposed to ping or pop while cooling if properly canned?
Some jars won't make that sound.
Mm-hmm.
The newer ones don't make more of a sound than that. Like the Sure Fit lids, they don't make a sound at all. But the balls will ping.
It's more like a pop sound than a ping. It's more like pop, pop with the ball lids. And then siphoning, it just means like the liquid will come out of the jar. Whatever you're canning comes out of the jar is what siphoning means. And you don't want to lose that product out of your jar. You want to keep it all in during that canning process.
Oh,
Right.
So let me see. Move on to my next question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leanne.
I was gonna say there's many different reasons why your jars will siphon. Like just naturally not debubbling your vegetables or whatever your jar is. Like that's always why we tell you to debubble. It's because you need to get that air out. And also you need to be gradually heating up your canner and then gradually cooling it down. That will also alleviate some siphoning. And also when your canning session's over, to wait that 5 to 10 minutes for your canner to come down more, then to carry out your jars onto the mat and let them cool down properly. All those things will help you eliminate siphoning. And with greens, they're just so much of them in the jar. That's why there's probably so much siphoning to begin with.
Okay, that makes sense. So, Pat said, I usually harvest and freeze excess. Is there a benefit to canning over freezing?
Well, I think there's a big, huge thing in that, if you're stuck in a power outage system or a down grid system, your freezer is not going to do you any good. The unfortunate part, it's not going to do you any good. Freezing is more of a quick use kind of thing for storage, where canning can be long term or longer term, and you don't have to worry about your freezer not having power. I think that's the important takeaway from that.
Yeah. I think about that all the time. What if all I have to do is grab this jar, pop it open, and I don't even have to heat it. At least we
Right.
have something to eat versus
Exactly.
something
Especially
in the
if you're in
freezer.
hurricane country.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that's another benefit from over canning over freezing is you don't have to wait to thaw it out.
Yeah.
Right. Another thought is with freezing, it's only good for about 6 months, maybe a year, depending on the type of bags that you're using to store them in. And then you begin to deal with freezer burn. With canning, it can be on your shelf for a couple of years. And then if you're freeze drying, you've got 25 years if stored correctly.
Yeah. I can remember, I think it was a tropical depression or something came through here, and we were days without electricity, the entire Savannah. So
Right.
all we could do was take the food that we had in the freezer and cook on the grill just so we didn't waste it all. But it was impossible to eat a quarter of what was in the freezer. So a lot went to waste, but just to think, what if we had canned some more foods than froze? We wouldn't have had that issue. And even when the power came back up, at least we didn't have to throw away all this food because it's not safe to feed anyone or anything by the time it's sit and go bad.
Right.
So canning is definitely a good way to go.
Yes.
Especially like now with this heat wave. I I was outside and I came back in to get something and I said, my husband bathroom light wouldn't come on, and I said, he turned the bathroom light off? Because usually when you walk in his bathroom, the light automatically come on. And then I turned around and I'm like, oh, the power is out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm standing here like, why is the power out? What? You know, and then your mind automatically go to, I hope it come back on because I have 2 freezers full of food.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a different mindset now.
But it also go. I mean, not necessarily just even power outages. In severe heat and severe cold, your freezers can go out just because of the excessive work they're trying to do. So there's
Exactly.
another reason why I'd have a backup plan for your backup plan for your backup plan. That's all I'm trying to say.
yeah, that's right. Um, let's go over the different types of canning, just for the new people that may be here today. What are the difference in? I guess we can say steam, water, and pressure canning.
But I'll say real quick, and I'll let the girls deal with the pressure canning part of it because they're more experienced than I am. Water bath canning and steam canning are treated exactly the same in your book. Okay. So if it says that you need the water bath can it at X and X, you can also steam bath it at the same process. Okay. Time, um, headspace, all of that is going to be exactly the same. Nothing's going to change for steam bath canning. Okay. The difference between the two is like with me, I have a 23-quart water bath canner. That's a lot of water in there. Steam canning only uses a small amount of water. So there is a difference. Okay. But to treat them in your books and your recipes and things like that, they are exactly the same in reference.
Okay. Grace and Fire, you want to add anything?
No, other than, there's another type of a water bath canner, and that's an electric water bath canner, and I have one of those. And so if you're going to get into water bath canning, it is an approved method. Just it's really good for if you have mobility problems or you can't lift something heavy because there's a spigot on it, and you can actually push that thing right up to your sink and lift that water out, when you're done with it. It makes it easy for cleanup and moving around. Or you can do it, you can put your pot like outside and can outside too if you want to keep the heat outside. So that is another type of water bath canner. And I love mine. It's actually my favorite water bath canner.
So it's the steam water bath canner that's approved, but not so much the pressure electric pressure canner is not approved.
Right.
Okay, Leanne.
Well, I was gonna suggest to Tony to suggest talk about how his manufacturer of his stove
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
want him water bathing on it.
So I did my research, which I recommend anybody that's wanting to do it does. You got to do your own research, but I got a hold of the manufacturer of my stove, which is a glass top induction stove, and I also got a hold of Presto, which is the pressure canner that I use.
Mm-hmm.
Presto said to refer to my manufacturer, which I then followed that up with a call to them, and I was able to get a hold of them, and they said the problem you have isn't so much can you use it or can't you use it. The problem is it's approved for mine. Let me put it that way. What they're more worried about is the water bath canning because of the weight on the glass. So you got to think about it. It's a 23-quart stainless steel canner. It has 7 to 9 jars in it full of product and now has water on top of it. They say to keep it at 50 pounds or less because anything over 50 pounds, you're on your own. And highly likely you're going to cause damage.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Very much
point
so.
is really in that you need to do your own research with your products, getting a hold of the manufacturers, verifying it's an approved method for you to use. And in all honesty, I know Glenda swears by the All American, but in my case, the All American wasn't approved for my stovetop because of the weight of the metal alone, let alone add on or add in the product to it. So you got to just do your research. You have to. I mean, that's where it comes down to. I can't tell you, yes, this is what my company said, and you're okay to do it, because I'm not going to be responsible for whatever may happen to your stove. So
Yeah.
that is why I'm not telling you who it is. And I took cue from Glenda because I think it's smart. I'm not going to tell you who it is and what they said. I don't mind telling you the canner because you can go out and get that yourself.
Mhm.
So I'm not trying to be offish or standoffish about that, but I think
No.
it's important for us not to take liability for people doing their own research.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's important. Doing your own research is important. It's your life. It's your lifestyle and it's your finances. So yeah, you definitely want to do
Yep.
your own research because you don't want to do something because somebody else did it and it cost you thousands of dollars. Well, who's to blame for that? So it's
Right.
important for people to do their own research.
That's it. And even if you can use these canners on glass top, because I do have glass top as well, and my manufacturer's fine with my All American. So I mean, it just varies from whatever you've got. But even just be really careful with whatever you are putting up on that glass top, because those glass tops can still crack no matter what you're putting up on it. Even if your manufacturer says green light, just be really cautious because you don't want to have to replace that stove over a canner.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about botulism. I think I think that is a very important subject when it comes to canning because we all want to stay away from it no matter what. So we'll start with Leanne and let her explain what botulism is and if you've ever come in contact with anybody or what's the deal with botulism.
Botulism is just how you maybe I'm put on this fire. I just know the biggest outbreak from botulism is when a lady didn't know how to cook her potatoes in a canner. She made potato salad and it went to a church picnic, and 59 people came down with an illness because she didn't properly cool her jars down the right way. And if you don't follow the steps that are in the National Center for Food and Preservation, you run the risk of creating botulism in your food.
So let me help her out a little bit with this part of it. In semi layman definition. Sorry. Botulism is a microorganism. Okay. It's one of the few microorganisms out there that actually grow when lack of oxygen is present. Okay. So it's something that is already out there. I'm not out to scare anybody or freak them out, but botulism is on a lot of vegetables and fruits. The reason why most people can get sick from it is because it doesn't have the lack of air. The lack of air is what makes that grow and turn into a problem. Okay. So when you have a food in a jar that happened to maybe didn't get washed correctly, or it didn't get cooked correctly, or it wasn't processed the long enough time, it was whatever. Okay. And I'm just giving you an example. So you got your food there, and in between my hands, there's a botulism spore. Okay. So now you've sealed the jar off. There's no oxygen going inside of it. And it's the prime point that botulism starts to grow through that food. The problem is that it's an airless, odorless. I believe you can't
Can't
even
taste
see botulism and you can't taste it. Not to the naked eye. I mean, a microscope probably could pick those out, but just us doing it. So when you open a jar that has been contaminated with botulism, you're not going to know it until it's too late. So when you were showing us yours and Bobby's jar of the jam you did, I kept referring to it. You don't know if it's got botulism, but I'm sure you don't want to be the person to find out because it's too late once you find out.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jesse put a definition of botulism on my chat, and I think you
Good.
can highlight it.
Yeah.
I can't see the chat, so I'm just going off of mine. So, yep, there you go, right there.
Yeah. So that's the scary part.
But if you just follow the guidelines,
Yeah,
you shouldn't
that's
have
the
any.
scariest part to me of canning now. It used to be the pressure canning and hearing that noise, but now to think of, because we had it all wrong, and to just watch a video and see somebody can, it gives you the assumption that, oh, I can just cook my food and can it. Well,
Right.
it's more to it, such as read your book. So, now that's the scary part. Making sure
Right.
you do it safe and properly by reading your book, following the directions to a T, so you don't have those issues.
I got into a conversation with a lady the other day, and she basically was saying that she has a feeling, and I'm putting this loosely, I'm not going exact, and these two ladies have already heard this conversation, but she called me Karen's Kettle Kitchen because she was mad because I was trying to give her the very specific, without being a mean guy about it, the reason why you can't do what she was saying. The problem I have is exactly what you just said, Sherry. How many videos do people watch? They think it's okay, but those videos don't have the guidelines in place, don't have the tested recipe that says, yes, we know the botulism should not be in this product if done this way for this amount of time with this amount of pressure.
Yeah.
And I just blew it off in all reality because it's, call me any name you want to. It doesn't change the fact of the matter that I personally am going to follow the rules. So,
Right. And then over this weekend, my aunt and we were out shopping, and I was looking at an antique store, just looking at like all the old antique things that they had for canning. Just I admired putting things up on the shelf for decoration. I ran into two ladies, and one of them was a big canner, and she didn't even know that the guidelines for chicken had been updated to 1.25 inch headspace. And that was a fun conversation in an antique store, just chit chatting about canning. And she really appreciated that information, and said she was going to update her book. So I think it's important to be able to share that with other people that have been canning for years and years and years. That these, guidelines do update and they change, and it's important to stay on top of that information, whether it be on YouTube or in person at an antique store.
right. I think, and it's funny you said it that way because it makes, I always keep going back to what Mouse Joe says. She's been doing it for 100 years. Okay. But she also has adapted to those changes in those guidelines because she wants it to be safe. So it isn't how long you've done it. It isn't what your family did before. It's not the 3 or 4 of us telling them they can't do something. It's those guidelines have been changed because they've been tested to not be acceptable practices anymore. And if you really want to continue the practice you had, you will update those things, just like the lady told Glenda. She's going to change her book. It's that easy. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No.
Do you have to use pickle and salt when canning, or can you just use seasoning?
Canning salt has no iodine in it, and when you use iodine salt, it'll make your jars cloudy. And when you do all that work, you want to see your food to be pretty. And I think that's the main reason. Am I right there?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer because for the last 10 years, I buy either the ball pickle, I buy this. And it's all done for me, and I follow the recipe, so I can't answer the question. I'm sorry.
If I remember correctly, iodine is considered a caking agent, and when you use it in your jars, it will put, like Leanne said, out the cloudiness when you use just normal table iodized salt. So when you use, and it it doesn't always, it can have an alternating effect on the flavor. So that's why a lot of places will say use strictly pickling salt because they know the caking agent isn't in there. I will go as far as to say if you can find a pure salt that doesn't have a caking agent in it, you should be okay. That doesn't mean you can go out and use black salt or Himalayan pink salt. Not saying you can't, but you need to check at that ingredient list on that salt and see what's in it to determine whether it has that agent in it or not. That's what I would say.
And with seasonings, you got to make sure you know how much you're putting in because it might intensify or you might not even taste it at all after you open that jar. So I reserve seasonings for when after I can and open that jar just because I like the ability to say, hey, I love oregano tonight. Let's put it on heavy tonight. Or anything else like tarragon or rosemary. Like I like having options.
And the only other exception I would give to that is if salt's being used as the processing ingredient, you need to use it. Don't omit it because it may be part of what that is. If it says that you can add salt at your option or by choice, that it's telling you you don't have to use salt. At least in the USDA book. That I can say.
Okay. So Jersey Dolphin asking how long does homemade beef stew and chili last in canning jars stored properly? You want to start with that, Grace and Fire?
I have some that I canned up 2 years ago, and it's still good. I'm still eating on it, but I wouldn't go too far out from that, just personally.
Okay, because Ball Cannon says they guarantee up to a certain time.
Yes, 18 months is the lid.
Okay,
Is what they guarantee on the lids.
I think Grace makes a good point, or Sherry does, but between the two of you, you just jarred me to think about something. All Ball is guaranteeing is that lid should seal. They're not guaranteeing your food's going to stay there and be proper. That's all based on your processing practices. So you got to remember that, okay?
mm-hmm. Yeah, that was urban garden. That was the thing with me too. Being able to season my food so when I open that jar, it's ready to eat. But now I know that you definitely have to follow the recipe. So that's what I would do, especially as a new canner. I would just follow exactly what the recipe say and learn. We got spoiled as in opening our foods and having it the way we want right then. So now we need to take a step back and do it the right way so that we don't jeopardize our health or our family and just season it after.
But the truth of the matter, I mean, it really does come down to what you're saying because it's expedience is what we've gotten used to. Here's the truth of the matter. If you, and I know, Leanne, you don't have this stuff in your house, but bear with me because a lot of people do. If you have top ramen, you have hamburger helper, you have macaroni and cheese, you have, I don't care what it is. Or if you want to make something, I see that. If you want to make something, you're gonna have to heat it up and warm it up anyway. So this is not the miracle. Oh, I can take it out of the jar and eat it right away. Well, in some cases you can. In some cases you can't. Some cases you have to heat that food up. So if you're gonna make tacos from your ground beef that you've canned, you have to warm it up anyways for people to eat it. If you're gonna make spaghetti, you got to have the sauce heated up. So my point being is that yes, we all like the convenience of having it already and dumping it out, but the reality of the practice of cooking it is we still have to heat it up. So it's not like hurting any of us to add a pinch and a dash in that when we're cooking it or warming it up, we'll say, because you're not really re-cooking it, you're heating it up so it's at a safe temperature.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I heard I listened to a couple live streams last week. I heard Led Farmer say over and over, learn how to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
Learn. And seasoning, something as simple as seasoning is uncomfortable for us because when we taste something, if the seasoning is not right, guess what? You're uncomfortable. You're saying, oh, no, that's not right. I can't eat it. That makes us uncomfortable. Well, if you're hungry enough, are you going to say, nah, I can't eat that because the seasoning is not right? Or are you going to eat it, as is? Now, if you have the seasonings that you can use them, but you definitely want to get yourself used to being uncomfortable so that you can survive.
Yep. I agree.
I think that goes with just about everything that I've made, even like as simple as making tomato soup. I'm still going to add milk or water to it. You're going to add something to it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it tastes so good to eat something that you've canned and that you've stored up. I love it. And the versatility of it. I mean, just think outside the box, because the versatility when you go to create your recipes and you're opening those cans, oh my gosh, it just makes your recipe so much better too.
Mhm.
Sky's the limit with what you can do with your canned food.
Like I've discovered with the spiced tomato soup and I think this book, I added beef broth to it. And it just gave it a whole different profile. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
There is.
If
And
you're into skinning cats, that is.
It's an expression back in my dad's time, I guess.
And I shared that I made this tomato soup recipe. Well, they took it off the website, but it's actually on the Ball YouTube page, and it's like a 3-minute video. So get your pen and paper down if you're going to write this recipe down. But it is an awesome tomato soup, and I will be making it again this year. So I just don't remember whose live I said that on, but I just want to make sure I shared that. It's a really good tomato soup.
With that being said, can y'all share your favorite cookbooks you use to can from?
I'm not going to pull mine out because they're going to be a repeat of what the girls have. So I'm just saying that.
We're gonna mirror each other, right?
Wait, where's yours at, Tony? No, I think
I'll go get it. Hold on.
Come on, Tony, get with the program here.
I could probably recite which recipes I have in here. 264. Let's see if I'm right. Yes, 264. The sweet and sour sauce. That's right here. It's a 2-in-1 sauce, but I like the sweet and sour sauce. I like heating that up with my pulled pork that I can and pouring that over mashed potatoes or egg noodles. That is a quick 5-minute or water and cook the noodles.
This is my favorite canning book.
Pull back, Tony. Pull back.
Pull back. There we go. Okay, I'll match you.
Mine has
And
come yet.
specifically, you want to know where my favorite recipe is in this book? From the cover, from the front cover to the back cover, because it has everything I need to know right inside of it.
That was almost corny.
Honestly, I do like the recipes out of this canning book too, because it's the only other one I have. But there's a lot. And I do a lot of mine off of the website, the National Center for Home Food Preservation. So
my husband was just on that site all day
But then we got to put this on too.
sorry, kids are out of school, so I got kids all over the place.
I guess I'll add mine, the Pomona's Pectin canning book. And I like it because it's low sugar, or you can use honey in yours. And this is from berries around my property. And it's a mixed berry recipe that I got out of this book, but you have to use the Pomona's pectin with this.
Right.
Let's see. I'm gonna make Leanne big so Chris and Larry can see. Oh,
Let's see. I hope Chris has time there. I noticed that Dragonflies had a question earlier about what if we preferred our proteins either hot packed or raw packed.
Well, I just started raw packing, and I dropped a video last week, and it was the first time I ever raw packed chicken. And I cracked one of my jars just to taste it. And oh, what was I waiting for? I've had a pressure canner for 5 years. What was I waiting on?
Okay, hold up. Go back and explain. So that is raw chicken.
Mm-hmm. This is raw chicken that I
No,
put in there.
it's cooked chicken now.
Well, it's cooked, but it made its own broth. You see that?
Okay. I saw the video, but I just want you to explain. I think hot and cold or raw, because I don't know. Some people may hear raw and it's like, what you mean raw?
All I had to do was cut my chicken up into little chunks, put it in my jar to 1 1/4 inch headspace, put the lid on and pressure can it according to the guidelines, and then let it sit. And literally, we cracked this can open a couple days. Well, not this one, but another one. And what was I thinking on waiting on that? Seriously, I've been pressure canning for 5 years and I've never done that. So you guys got to actually see my first time pressure canning chicken. The video has been dropped, and it is the best by far that I love. We made chicken barbecue pizza with it.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm. It was really good. With my bourbon barbecue sauce that I made 2 years ago.
I'm making barbecue sauce this weekend, so now you're giving me hints and ideas. So,
ooh, the bourbon's good.
Good.
So
I can't answer that question. Maybe Leanne can, because I haven't done any proteins yet. So
I haven't canned anything with the bone in, or at least chicken. I don't know. It takes less time to process, which I don't get that myself. But I'm a little paranoid when it comes to little parts of the bone deteriorating in the jar.
Yeah.
That's why I won't do it. I'm just paranoid. It might have amazing flavor, but it's a little too much fiber, I guess.
But are you referring to you don't do any proteins? Because I thought you've done proteins before.
No, it says with the bone.
With the bone.
Oh, I misunderstood that. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I've done chicken.
That's
I've
what I
done
thought.
beef,
I was like, wait a
I've
second.
done
I
pork
thought she's
butt,
done a
I've
lot.
done venison. And my preferred way to do chicken is my chicken video, how I baked it in the oven, then packed it into jars. I mean, raw pack has flavor, but maybe I'm just lazy about cleaning out that jar. It just grows tight to it.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, the baking in the oven, it just had its own different taste. And I'm like, I'm never going back to boiling it, because it gets a little rubbery if you hot pack it that way. But just baking in the oven and throw it in the jar, that was so easy. I didn't even think I was breaking a sweat doing it that way.
Wow. So when you raw pack chicken and you can it's cooked in the can.
Yeah.
And it makes its own juice.
Yep.
You don't even have to pour boiling water on it.
Oh, so it's just chicken by itself.
Mm-hmm.
No broth, no water, no anything.
Yeah.
Do you season when you raw pack?
It's optional for salt. And I did not put salt in mine because it was optional. And I just wanted to make sure I could control the salt for whatever recipe I was making. And for me, it's just easy to add that salt, so that way if I'm making something, because I don't know, like if I'm gonna in a recipe, if I'm gonna need more salt or less salt for a recipe. So it was just easier for me to say no, and then when I go to make the recipes, then I'll add my salt at that point. But that was optional.
Okay, so as far as water, what kind of water do you use? Is it a certain kind? Well, tap, still, spring.
I just use my well water, even though it's high in iron.
I use it. Filtered water is what I have. Just because where I live at, my water is not necessarily the best. I don't like what's in it. So I just filter it out.
Okay.
And my husband doesn't like the taste of filtered water, so I'm out of luck. But I would suggest spring water probably if you can afford it. But I'm going to go with my well water.
I think it really comes down to, you have to look at, are you talking about water? Because my brain actually went somewhere else. My brain went to water bath canning, and are they asking to use tap water, bottled water when you're water bath canning? So I think, just for clarification, I think I'm going to go with the girls, because now that I hear it that way, I think that's what was intended. But if it's water bath canning, for me personally, because it's not something I'm consuming, tap water's just fine.
And then I agree with that as well.
Oh, I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip any questions.
Yeah, she was going back.
So let's go back to things you would can and things you wouldn't or cannot can.
Well, there's a difference, so you need to clarify that.
Things you can and things you cannot can. What are some of the things that cannot be canned?
You have the voice.
Who's going to start?
So you can't
I didn't know.
can rice and you can't can pasta. So I'm gonna absolutely no way, no how. Don't can those. If you're making like chicken soup, which is my next recipe that I'm going to be making, I'm just going to make the chicken soup the way that the book says, and then when I go to heat that can up, I'll just boil up my noodles at that point, and then just mix the two. Or with rice, maybe I want chicken and rice another night, But yeah, you can't can chicken or rice. And then yes, I agree with mud and mascara, dairy as well.
And also unapproved thickeners, meaning if you're making a pie filling, you can use a specific thickener, which is clear gel. To my knowledge and understanding, there's another one that's called Thermagel, I think.
Thermoflow.
And that's for Thermoflow. Thank you. That's for pressure canning, but in minimal amounts. And it has to be part of a recipe, to my understanding. I've never used it, so I don't know about that.
I thought about this, over processing potatoes one time. How, I know potatoes don't need a long time to cook, so when you canning them,
How does it stand that far?
is it a thing with over processing?
I think it just depends on the variety of the potato. Like, I know there's certain whites and certain reds that can better, and you don't want to do russets because they'll just be mashed potatoes when you open it. And I've learned that the hard way, even though it's good. No, but you have to heat it up high and make sure it's heated very well.
I'd like to answer the next question if the girls are done with that one.
The Campbell soup?
Yes.
Okay.
So number one, what we're talking about is home canning. If you look at the national or the USDA's book, it very specifically says at the top of it, for home canning. We're not talking commercial, because commercial is a whole different animal, has a whole different process. They have better machines that are more equipped to handle different things. They can get equipment up to a hotter temperature than we can ever try to replicate in our houses. That's why Campbell's Soup can do it and we can't. Okay. All of your recipes that are put out are based off of a home canning situation. They're not looking at it from a commercial situation. So I think that's the easiest way to answer it because it's the truth of it.
Right. Well put.
And I see Chris and Larry was saying that they haven't pressure can yet. They only water bath can. So that was the purpose in coming up with this canning series is so the new canners, first we want to make sure that we are doing it the correct way because we don't want to make each other sick or our family sick. But then you don't want to waste. You think about how wasteful it'll be if you can 5 pounds of anything and it all go bad. How much money are you just throwing out of the door? And then you need to go to the store and try to buy this stuff all over again. So it's just, making sure we get the right information. Now we have 3 channels that I always knew I could follow or contact when it came to canning, but I definitely wanted to have these conversations. So some people that don't feel comfortable reaching out, they can just go back, look at these lives, Time to Grow have them, and you can check these 3 channels out all the time so that you can feel comfortable. And I'm sure most people don't mind you emailing them so they can help walk you through a little bit because it's all about being safe.
Yep. I agree.
I thought Glenda was going to say something.
Well, I was just reading. I'm
reading
TLC in
too.
the garden, and it says I might get the nerve to water bath can one day. I know it's crazy to be scared since I've been pressure canning for so long. I hope this encourages you to give it a try. And we're
Just do
cheering
it.
you on. Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, this is water bath can. This is my property jam. This is so good. You can have that too. And I'll be cheering you on when you do.
How about we use our pressure canner for the water bath canning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, just make sure you don't put that weight on, and it's the same thing.
Exactly.
And just make sure your water level's 2 inches above that last lid, and you're good to go.
Started saving thick pasta jars.
So are they talking about single-use jars from the store?
So my recommendation would be instead of using those, because yes, they are scarce. I would go to your thrift stores. I actually was out of Goodwill over the weekend, and I found mason jars, the proper ball mason jars. They were 99 cents each, and all you have to do is just pick the jar up and then just check to make sure that there are no cracks or gouges or anything in them, and get your jars that way. I'd also look at yard sales. That would be another option instead of doing it that way. It would be my recommendation, because those one-time use jars are exactly that. They are one-time use jars. They make great jars for flowers or holding your ink pens in, whatever, but I wouldn't use them.
And here's a thought. Social media. Just ask all your friends. They have parents that might be downsizing. Just communicate with people, or estate sales, or senior centers. Just ask around. I'm sure there's somebody that wants to declutter.
Yeah, I saw Mouse Toes did a video. I think it was last week on how to store your jars. When she clean them and put the lid on it without the. She put the brim on it, without the lid, and she turn them upside down, and that's how she store them so that the jar don't break or don't crack. I thought that was good.
Okay, so I'll just.
Okay, so Marilyn was asking, I've seen jars that are not ball. Are they okay to use?
Atlas are good. Golden Harvest are good. Pure jars are good, but I wouldn't trust the lids. And from what I've been hearing, and I'm probably missing one, like
Anchor Hawking.
Anchor.
Yeah,
Anchor
Anchor
has
Hawking.
But
a
I
good
would
one.
get different lids.
Anchor hawking, I don't have seem to have good luck with those because they don't seal for me. Like using the ball lids on those jars, they don't seal. So I gave up on those. I mean, those
Okay.
are like hand-me-down jars that I've gotten, but I just don't seem to have good luck. And if you get jars that are like from the 50s and 60s and 70s, I will take them if you don't think they're good enough for you. I love those jars because they're twice as thick as any jar you're going to get from the store. So don't
Yeah.
think, oh, they're maybe 50 or 60 years old. They're not good. They are prime. You hold on to those suckers as hard as you can.
Urban Gardening Chronicles said Bernardin also, and she is correct. Just so people know, Bernardin is owned by the same company that owns the Ball Company and the Kerr Company. They're intended primarily for Canadian consumption, meaning Canadian use. Sorry, but you can find them in the U.S. occasionally, so they're okay as well.
All right. So, I don't think I have any more questions. We can talk about y'all favorite things to can, or what's the easiest thing? I know that can vary from one person to the next. Most definitely, what their favorite thing to can is, but the easiest thing, because people ask all the time, what's the easiest thing to start growing? Well, we grow tropical fruit in a subtropical area, which is pretty easy for us with a little. So it can vary from one person to the next. So, what are the easiest things for you all? Your favorite thing to can? Let's start with Leanne.
My favorite thing to can, you mean to grow and then can?
Yeah.
Green beans. You get so many on a plant and you get 4 or 5 flushes if you pick them right. And you just have to wash them really good, stick them in the jars, make sure they're good in there tight, pour some hot water on, debubble, and put them in the canner. And you can never have enough green beans, but don't ask my husband that question. He had some choice words for me the other day. And that's why there's only one row of green beans out there right now. But he doesn't know summer's still coming on.
Oh yeah, it's just getting burned up. All right, fire.
So mine right now is mine with spaghetti sauce or salsa, but really my favorite thing to do is cowboy candy because I love to be able to take that to parties. And you just put that over some cream cheese and serve it with crackers. So good. So good.
I take that to church picnics. They fight over it.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy
like,
candy.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So what
cowboy
is
candy with it's candied jalapenos.
Mm-hmm.
I have a video on that. The pineapple. Surprisingly, I think it has over 2,000 views. But yeah, it's just a lot of sugar, your pickling spices, and your jalapeno rings sliced up. And you just pickle it. It's water bath recipe. So it can be for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any solutions that you all use to wash your fruit and vegetables, or just plain water?
I don't add anything besides water, except I just recently got last year a Norwex towel. This thing is wonderful. It's a towel that can just take the dirt off with water and it's clean. I wish I had it.
Say that one more time. It's a what?
Norwex towel. I wish I can just go get it. It's
okay.
It's like you know what a blue scratchy is? A scratch pad that you get? It's less coarse than that, but you just rub it against your vegetables right from the garden, and you think they're store-bought potatoes and carrots and stuff. Like, I just love mine. It's like $13 plus shipping and handling, so it's probably like 20 some dollars now. But if you're a gardener and you're wanting to grow your own food and put it away, I highly suggest a Norwex fruit and vegetable towel.
Look into that.
I'm going to look into that myself because I use vinegar water, just like a splash of vinegar and a great big gallon of water.
Well, Vicky sells
When-
Norex.
Oh, because like I go to U-Pick Farms and I get grapes and apples. So I want to get whatever is on that produce. I want to get that washed off. But I need to look for that towel. That's
I'm telling you, I love Norex. I have their mop, I have their E-Claws, and I have their body and face claws. I just love how they clean. They're expensive, but I think I'd rather have 3 of those than all the rags you can have. They pay for themselves because you don't even have to use chemicals with them. I think
well,
that would
you're
be,
paying for quality is what you're paying for.
but you don't have to
Yeah.
use any other chemicals with them. Like they have a window cloth. You just use your damp your e-cloth, and then you use that first. Then you take your window cloth that's dry and just wipe back and shine it all up. Like you don't need Windex ever again.
Wow. Well, you're
Take,
saving money in cleaners by that point.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you.
yep. Yeah. I can't see enough about Norex.
North Carolina Garden. I think they answered your question. We are growing tons of beans. We just dropped our seeds maybe a month and a half ago, and we harvest beans every single day. So I'm not sure exactly when you should plant according to your grow zone, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
our grow zone is kind of weird. We are 8B and it's always warm here.
And just remember, green beans don't like it wet. They don't like wet feet.
Okay.
So they need well-drained soil, and they probably like it about 50. They like it from like 70 to 90 degrees. So whatever that is.
Okay. Are steam canners only for water bath canning?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So, y'all, I think we've covered just about everything. I mean, unless y'all can think of something y'all want to tell our viewers or tell the new or the old canners, you know what I want to tell them. Just be safe. Grab a book, do your research, just be safe. But I'm a new canner, so of course I'm gonna grab the book and I'm gonna call y'all. So what do y'all want to tell them?
For what Chris was talking about earlier with the pressure canning, or she's just starting out water bath canning and not pressure canning, and she was wondering about how store-bought food can have pastas and all that. When you're starting out canning, you need to follow the recipes and stop thinking about what you want to can and go find recipes for it, because you might stumble a lot trying to do that. So go to your books and find a recipe to can before you even start. I think that's a lesson I had to learn myself, because I got somebody's grandmother's spaghetti recipe and it was pretty thick. You know, I had to learn. So you just start with your book and you can't go wrong.
Online canning. My nerves too bad for online canning right now. But maybe one day soon, me and Grace and Fire team up and do a live cannon, maybe.
That's it.
As in
I'll do it with
When Bobby gives me the dragon fruit, I'll do a paired venture with you on making jam.
Here's dragon fruit crazy. He'll be out again tonight, pollinating dragon fruit.
So I know cured ham is not a tested safe recipe, but what about raw ham? Does that have a tested recipe for?
Are you doing what I was going to do, Glenda?
Yes.
Just look it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I know there's ham bits in certain recipes, like split pea soup, but I don't know if you can. Kelly's saying it. Kelly on my channel saying
That's what my thought was, is that it was primarily for
I'm not seeing it.
flavoring in other recipes, not as an ingredient itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in that particular book, but that doesn't mean that that's everything. I'd have to do some more research.
Again, I'll go with that, though. If anybody's got a question or wants to ask a question, please email me. I will do what I can to a point. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and do everybody's homework for them, but I mean, there are some honest questions that you can't just find. And I don't have a problem answering them if I can get the information. So,
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you, Ronnie Weaver. I think you know, to see something live, it's almost like hands on. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
talk. We'll talk about it and see. Yeah.
I'd like to. Yeah.
If the technology was available for me.
Yeah. So with that being said, y'all, I can't.
oh, I did have one thing. Sorry. Can I throw it out real quick?
Yep.
I caught this on last week on Carla's Showtime to Grow, and it really makes sense to me. Can you zoom in on this book real quick?
Yep. Let's see.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it or not,
I'm
but it's
nearsighted.
just okay. So I'll just make it easy for you. Okay. So it's a recipe out of the USD Complete Guide to Home Canning. Okay. This book, I've told people this before. This book will provide you the information you need. One of the questions that got asked is, how do I know it's dial gauge or weighted gauge? Well, it specifically tells you what it is. The hint I will give you is that you will not find on this recipe, you will not find water bath canning because it's not recommended to do it. So if you don't find it, that means it's not available to do. Does that make sense?
Right.
So when you're reading through the recipe, it'll give you, this is how you do it for a dial gauge. This is how you do it for a weighted gauge. And you're not finding water bath canning. That means it's not water bath cannable. That's what I'm trying to say. That's an easy way for you to know whether it is or is not one or the other.
You want to add anything to it, Leanne? Grace and Fire?
No, he said it best. I mean, don't even bother trying, you know.
Yeah. So that's my thing. This is week number 3 of talking about basically the same thing over and over. Read your book. Be safe about it. We have never canned before. Well, we tried, but we tried it the way we thought canning was done. So now we know that we totally went wrong with our first time trying to can, and we decided, well, let's share this with our soil family and make sure nobody make these mistakes. And definitely don't make the mistake and give it to someone or eat it yourself and make someone sick. So you have, Mennonite, Grace and Fire, Kettle Kitchen. We have books. We have online resources. Your extension office. It's so many things. You have these lives to come back and listen to if you have more questions. Always email those 3 or look in your book because the research is there, the information is there. But I just want everybody to be safe and canning, no matter how you can or preserve. I want you to be safe so that we can continue to live.
Exactly.
I had a thought, then it left.
Well, I had a thought too. So, the USDA is actually how I learned to can, and there is just so much research. Just really immerse yourself into that, to that website. I mean, it has the best information, and I mean that's really how I learned to do it. I didn't have YouTube back in the day, 11 years ago. I actually just immersed myself into it, and also into the ball books. If I can do this, so can you. And so I really want to encourage everybody, if you're thinking about starting to can, get into it. Really, I mean, if you knew me 11 years ago, you'd go, yeah, she's not a canner. Because I was just not that type of person. But it is a lot of fun. Just enjoy the ride. No, make a list of what you're interested in canning. I think that also is something. Don't just can something because you've got it in your house and you need to can it up. Make a list of the things that you want to try, these recipes that you try, and then go back and go, okay, I like this recipe or I didn't like that recipe. So that way, going forward, what you want on your pantry shelves or what you're using the most of, and always rotate your food in and out too. Don't just leave it on your shelf and then just keep pushing back. Just rotate your food too. That's another tip of mine.
Yeah. And get all the proper equipment that you need. With us being new canners, we didn't purchase anything until after week 1 of this canning series for us. And I wanted to make sure I was not just running out here wasting money and buying silly stuff and, oh, that's cute, or I need this just because I think or I saw somebody with it. So now we have all of the proper utensils and equipment to can with. And I'm happy with the money we have spent. I don't feel like we went and wasted a bunch of money buying things. So you definitely want to start off. I know it's a lot of things out here that people say you can use or you can do if you don't have. I say start off with the proper utensils. That way you don't have any issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I agree.
So, all right, y'all. We're going to end this thing a little early today. I know y'all want to get out in the heat and do some work.
Yeah, I gotta get outside.
I have to get outside too, and I'm not looking forward to that heat.
I have to go feed the baby calves.
Oh.
Well, I need to go pack because we have a special lab coming up in a couple of days. Share some with some people, but it's summertime. It's time to have some fun. But I appreciate y'all. I mean,
Yep.
Mental Night, Grace and Fire, and Kettle Kitchen. This series has been so important to me because I have been terrified to can, and I definitely don't want to make anybody sick. I would love to share recipes, things that we grow in our yard with my loved ones, but I definitely don't want to do anything to jeopardize anyone's life. So I appreciate the fact that you all took out your time of your busy day and had these conversations with us for the last few weeks. But I think Canning Live would be great one of these days once I get my footing right. But I think it's good. So y'all, if you have not checked out Middle Night Farmhouse, go back to video 1. I'm just saying, go all the way back. If you have not checked out Grace and Fire, she has not been on YouTube long. Grace and Fire and Kettle Kitchen, but all great. Grace and Fire is a true chicken mama.
Yes, I am.
So check her out. But it's special to have people that take time and want to share knowledge to keep people safe. So we definitely appreciate y'all.
Thank
Y'all
you.
got
Yeah, we
words
appreciate
for that?
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any final words?
Well,
Go
I'm
ahead.
really excited that you're going to start canning, Sherry. This really excites me. So, yeah. Sorry. I've been wanting to
Just get
say
it
that
done.
for a while. Yes.
Just get it done.
That's what
Yes.
I'm gonna do. So y'all
I
look out
think
for that.
I think I heard a wise woman once say, "Just grab your balls."
Grab your balls.
Ooh.
It's canning
Ding, ding. Ding, ding.
exactly, right? So, all right, I'm going to drop y'all back for a minute. But in this thing,
Bye.
all right, Soil Family. So, I know we usually go 2 hours, but I think we got it. I think we got it. So, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you missed, we have a 3 episodes of this. Grab your balls. It's canning season. So, if you missed any of it, go back. check out episode 1 and 2. So much information. If we missed anything, if you have any questions, contact Grace and Fire, Mennonite Farmhouse, Kettle Kitchen. Grab these books. They will save your life. They will save someone's life. So definitely grab these books and do your research. With that being said, y'all stay hydrated. It is hot out there. The heat index is ridiculous. We want y'all all safe. We will be back here live again Friday somewhere, but it won't be here. So y'all tune in for our 7 p.m. Friday night live at a, I don't know, surprise location. Let's see where we end up at. Y'all have a blessed day. We absolutely love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. And don't let nobody steal your joy.